What if everything you've been calling anxiety isn't your enemy at all? What if the trembling in your chest, the restless thoughts, the panic, you've been misunderstanding it your entire life? Today, we'll discover the hidden message behind discomfort, the secret gift that's been trying to awaken you all along. You have been told all your life that what you feel is wrong, that the racing thoughts, the pressure in your chest, the way your breath becomes shallow, these are symptoms to be treated, problems to be solved. But what if that isn't true? What if what you call anxiety is not an illness, but a misunderstood form of awareness? What if this trembling sensitivity is not weakness, but life itself, trying to express through you in its most vivid, unfiltered way? Most of us live at odds with our own experience. We label sensations as good or bad, and once we decide something is bad, we immediately try to escape it. We flee into distractions, into endless scrolling, into work, into other people's approval. But in doing so, we begin a war within ourselves, a war between what we feel and what we think we should feel. And that war is what keeps the heart restless. The moment you say, "I shouldn't feel anxious," you divide yourself in two. One part becomes the judge, the other the accused. One part demands calmness, the other trembles under pressure. But both are you. You cannot fight yourself and win. When you stop calling the feeling anxiety, you begin to sense it differently. Words are powerful cages. They shape how you perceive reality. The word anxiety carries a heavy shadow. It suggests something wrong, something broken, something that must be cured or hidden. But if you take away the word, what remains? A quickening heartbeat, energy coursing through your body, a heightened alertness, a sensitivity to life. Is that not what happens when you are deeply alive? When you stand on a mountain peak, or when you fall in love, or when you watch the ocean swell before a storm? That trembling is the same energy. It's just the mind that calls it panic, when it doesn't understand its purpose. To reframe this feeling is not to deny it. It's to see it from another dimension, to view it as an expression of life rather than an error in living. Imagine a river flowing swiftly after rain. The water moves with force, with momentum, with vitality. But if you build walls to contain it, the pressure builds, and the river turns violent. It's not the river's fault. It's the resistance that creates the turbulence. In the same way, your so-called anxiety is energy seeking movement, but the mind's resistance, its fear of losing control, creates the struggle. You begin to feel suffocated not because of the feeling itself, but because you are trying to hold back the tide. There is a strange irony here. When you try to get rid of anxiety, you feed it. You tell yourself you must calm down, that you must not feel what you feel, and in that very resistance, you create tension. It's like tightening a rope that was never tied to begin with. The moment you stop pulling, it loosens by itself. When you stop calling it anxiety, it becomes what it always was. Just energy moving through the body. Perhaps it's excitement, anticipation, creativity waiting to manifest. Perhaps it's your inner self trying to tell you that the life you are living is too small for your soul, but you cannot hear the message as long as you are at war with the messenger. To reframe the feeling means to let it teach you. When your heart races, ask, what is this energy asking me to see? When your breath shortens, ask, what truth am I avoiding? Because this sensation often rises not to harm you, but to awaken you. It's the body's language, the voice of the deeper self. The more you listen, the less afraid you become. You begin to notice that beneath the unease, there is intelligence, a guiding force trying to bring you back to alignment. The discomfort only feels like chaos because you're interpreting a transformation as a threat. Think of a caterpillar dissolving in its cocoon. If it could think like we do, it would surely panic. It would say, something is wrong with me. My body is melting. I'm losing control. But that melting is not death. It's metamorphosis. The old form must dissolve before the new one can emerge. And that is exactly what your anxiety might be. The dissolving of who you thought you were, so that who you truly are can unfold. But because you've been conditioned to fear uncertainty, you interpret the process as danger. You run from it, medicate it, numb it, distract it. But all it wanted was your attention, your acceptance, your willingness to let it pass through. When you begin to view anxiety as a messenger, rather than a monster, everything changes. The shaking becomes a rhythm. The racing heart becomes a drumbeat, calling you back to awareness. You stop labeling yourself as broken and start seeing yourself as sensitive to life. That sensitivity is not a flaw. It's the mark of someone alive to the mystery of existence. In a world obsessed with noise and numbness, your sensitivity is your greatest strength. It allows you to feel the undercurrents others ignore, to perceive beauty and meaning where others see only routine. The next time the wave rises, try not to tighten around it. Breathe deeply. Don't say, I am anxious. Instead, say, there is energy moving through me. That small shift in language creates space. Space for awareness, for stillness, for understanding. The moment you name it differently, your relationship to it softens. You are no longer a victim of anxiety. You are the witness of a sensation, the observer of an unfolding process. And from that perspective, you realize you were never in danger. You were simply caught in a moment of expansion. Because that's what it is, really. Expansion. Your consciousness stretching beyond the limits of who you believed yourself to be. The mind interprets that expansion as threat because it prefers familiarity over growth. But the soul knows better. It recognizes this trembling as the birth of something vast, something true. So it keeps pushing at the edges until you learn to stop resisting and start flowing. This reframing does not happen overnight. It requires gentleness, patience, and curiosity. You will still have moments when the old language returns, when you call it anxiety and feel the panic rise. But even then, remember you are learning a new way of being with yourself. Each time you soften, each time you breathe through the storm, instead of running from it, you reclaim a piece of your power. You begin to understand that peace is not the absence of intensity. It is the acceptance of it. Real calmness is not built by silencing the waves, but by realizing that you are the ocean. You are not broken, my friend. You are alive. The trembling is life itself, vibrating through the fragile vessel of the human body. You were never meant to be a stone, unmoved by the world. You were meant to feel deeply, to be stirred, to be transformed by the touch of existence. So stop diagnosing your soul. Stop naming its songs as disorders. Let it move, let it speak, let it shake you awake. It's not anxiety, it's awareness. Raw, wild, unfiltered awareness. And if you can sit still long enough to listen, you'll find that what you thought was your enemy has been your teacher all along. It came not to break you, but to show you how infinite you are. There is a quiet truth, hidden beneath all the noise of fear. The moment you stop resisting, you begin to heal. But we have been taught the opposite. We are told to fight what we feel, to tighten every muscle, to take control, to push away the discomfort. And so, we become like a clenched fist, always ready to defend, never able to receive. Yet life, in its strange wisdom, keeps showing us that peace is not won by force. It comes when you surrender the battle you've been waging against yourself. When you feel anxious, the first impulse is to escape. You want to fix it, suppress it, talk yourself out of it. You might pace the room, distract yourself with screens, seek validation from others, or drown the silence with noise. All of this is resistance, subtle, desperate, constant. It's the refusal to be with what is. But every act of resistance feeds the very thing you're trying to get rid of. The feeling grows stronger because you are giving it your full attention in the language of fear. You are saying, "You must not be here," and the feeling replies, "Then I will stay until you listen." The mind believes that resistance is strength. It believes that if you tighten your grip, you can force calmness into existence. But the paradox is that control is the very source of your suffering. The moment you try to dominate life, you cut yourself off from its flow. You cannot fight the river and expect to stay afloat. The more you thrash, the deeper you sink. Real strength lies in allowing the current to carry you, not in becoming rigid, but in learning how to float. To stop resisting is not the same as giving up. It is not resignation, nor is it laziness. It is an act of profound courage. It means you trust the intelligence of existence enough to let it unfold without interference. You begin to see that every sensation, even the painful ones, has its place in the great rhythm of being. When you stop labeling feelings as enemies, you notice they are not as dangerous as you thought. They rise, they peak, they fall, like waves on the shore. And you are the shore itself, vast enough to hold them all. Resistance comes from the illusion that you are separate from what you experience. You think there is you, and then there is the anxiety, as though the two were different entities. But they are not. The feeling is happening within you. It is you in a particular moment of expression. When you resist it, you divide yourself again. You say, "This part of me should not exist." You exile a piece of your own being. And how can there ever be peace while you are at war with yourself? Notice how resistance feels in the body. The shoulders tighten, the stomach knots, the breath becomes shallow. The body mirrors the mind's refusal to surrender. Now, try something different. Instead of pushing the feeling away, open to it. Allow it to be there without judgment. Say to yourself, I am willing to feel this. Breathe deeply and let the sensation spread. You may find that, paradoxically, it begins to soften. The edges blur, the sharpness fades. Because what the feeling needed was not your rejection, it needed your presence. Every emotion longs to be acknowledged. When you resist it, it knocks louder. When you finally listen, it often leaves quietly. Like a child crying for attention, once it feels seen, it no longer needs to scream. So, when the anxiety rises, sit with it as you would with a frightened friend. Do not demand that it leave. Ask what it wants to show you. There is wisdom buried in every discomfort. Maybe it's pointing to a life unlived, a truth unspoken, a desire ignored. The message cannot reach you through resistance. It can only be heard in stillness. The great irony of resistance is that it keeps you trapped in the very experience you're trying to escape. The more you say, I don't want to feel this, the more you reinforce its existence. The thought becomes the glue that keeps the feeling in place. But if you say, let it be, the tension dissolves. The energy that was trapped begins to flow again. You realize the feeling was never your enemy. It was your teacher. It came to remind you that control is an illusion and that peace lives on the other side of surrender. Think of the ocean again. A wave does not resist its own motion. It does not wish to be smaller or calmer. It rises when it must, falls when it must, and disappears back into the sea without complaint. Your emotions are the same. They rise from the vastness of your being, take shape for a moment, and then fade back into stillness. You suffer only when you forget you are the ocean and believe yourself to be the wave. To stop resisting does not mean you will never feel discomfort again. It means discomfort will no longer own you. You become like space itself, untouched by whatever passes through. Thoughts may come, sensations may rise, but they no longer define you. You begin to live from a deeper place, where peace is not dependent on circumstances. This is not something to force or practice mechanically. It happens naturally when you stop treating life as an opponent. Notice, too, how resistance extends beyond emotions. It colors your entire existence. You resist people who challenge you, situations you cannot control, endings you did not choose. But life keeps happening, whether you resist or not. Every time you cling to how things should be, you create friction with what is. And that friction manifests as tension, anxiety, and restlessness. The universe is always changing. To resist change is to resist the very nature of reality. When you stop fighting, you begin to see the world as it truly is. Alive, unpredictable, beautifully imperfect. You start to flow with it instead of against it. You realize that the universe is not out to get you. It's unfolding through you. Every event, every feeling, is part of the same cosmic dance. You don't have to control the rhythm. You only have to remember how to move with it. It's strange how much energy we waste trying to hold things still. We want certainty, permanence, guarantees. But nothing in nature is still. Not the rivers, not the stars, not even the atoms that make up your body. Stillness is not the absence of movement, it's the acceptance of movement. It's the quiet recognition that change is not chaos, it's creation. The mind calls it instability, the soul calls it life. When you stop resisting, you begin to experience a subtler kind of peace. Not the peace of a perfectly calm sea, but the peace of one who knows they can float through any storm. You start to see beauty even in unease. The trembling of the heart becomes a reminder that you are alive. The uncertainty of tomorrow becomes a doorway to wonder. You stop asking life to be comfortable and start asking it to be real. This kind of surrender transforms everything. Relationships soften. Decisions become clearer. The constant noise in your mind begins to fade because you're no longer trying to rewrite the script of reality. You're living it, moment by moment, as it unfolds. And in that space of deep acceptance, life becomes breathtakingly vivid. You taste your food more fully. You listen more deeply. You love without the shadow of fear. But understand this: surrender is not something you achieve once and for all. It is a practice of remembering, again and again, that you are safe in the flow of life. You may resist today and surrender tomorrow. That's all right. The dance includes both steps. What matters is that you keep remembering that peace is not found by tightening your grip. It's found by letting go. So, when the wave of anxiety rises again, as it will, do not panic. Don't rush to fix or flee. Just breathe and feel the rhythm of your own heart. Whisper to yourself, "I allow this." Let the energy move through you, like wind through an open window. You will see that it cannot harm you. It only passes through, leaving behind a strange kind of clarity, a softness where there once was struggle. That is the secret the world keeps missing. The peace you are searching for has been hiding behind your resistance all along. The moment you stop fighting, you find it waiting, patient and eternal, right where you are. Because peace does not come after the storm. Peace is what you find when you realize you are the sky, and the storm was never separate from you at all. When we feel anxiety rising within us, tight chest, rapid breath, that quiet storm behind the eyes, our first impulse is almost always to push it away, to escape, distract, or numb. We treat the sensation as something foreign, something wrong, something that must be silenced. Yet in doing so, we may overlook the very reason it appeared in the first place. Anxiety often speaks the language of the unsaid. It is a messenger, not a mistake. Beneath its trembling surface lies information about where we have drifted from our truth, what we have been avoiding, or what our heart is yearning to express. You see, human beings are masters of suppression. From a young age, we're taught to stay composed, to be efficient, to keep moving forward even when something deep inside us whispers, "Stop." We fill every quiet space with noise, every pause with productivity. But what happens to the voice inside us that wants to be heard? It doesn't disappear, it changes shape. It becomes tension. It becomes restlessness. It becomes what we call anxiety. Anxiety is not the enemy. It is the echo of something that needs your attention. It could be unexpressed grief, the weight of unmet expectations, or even the pull of a life unlived. When you feel that surge of unease, it's as though your soul is knocking on the walls of your consciousness, saying, "There is something important you're not listening to." It is the body's language for the spirit's silence. When you begin to see anxiety in this way, it no longer feels like an attack. It feels like a conversation. But to hear it, you must be willing to listen without judgment. Instead of labeling the feeling as bad, try asking, "What are you trying to tell me?" You might be surprised at the answers that arise. Perhaps it tells you that you've been pretending to be someone you're not. Perhaps it reveals that your pace, your obligations, your environment no longer match your inner rhythm. Or perhaps it simply says, you've forgotten how to rest. In moments of anxiety, we often become fixated on symptoms: the racing heart, the trembling hands, the shallow breath. But these are not random punishments. They are signals guiding us inward. The heart beats faster, not to hurt you, but to get your attention. The breath shortens not to suffocate you, but to make you pause. If you listen closely, the body becomes a translator for the soul. It tells you what the mind has been too busy to hear. We live in a world that idolizes control. We want everything explained, managed, and predictable. But anxiety is born when life refuses to be controlled. When reality doesn't fit the story we tell ourselves, tension arises. Instead of trying to cage it, we can learn to trust that discomfort is not chaos. It's correction. It's life showing us the gap between how we live and how we are meant to live. Sometimes anxiety means you are growing faster than your surroundings allow. You've outgrown your environment, your relationships, or your identity, but your mind hasn't caught up yet. The discomfort you feel isn't a sign of failure. It's the friction of transformation. Like a snake shedding its skin, the process is tight and uncomfortable, but it's also necessary. The feeling of unease is simply the old you breaking apart to make space for something more authentic. When you sit quietly with anxiety, you'll notice it has layers. The outer layer is noise, fear, confusion, urgency. Beneath that is emotion, sadness, guilt, longing. And beneath that, if you go deep enough, you'll find a stillness, a kind of wisdom that says, you are safe to feel. Anxiety's message, beneath all the noise, is often about returning home to yourself. It's asking you to reconnect with what's real, to release the illusion that peace can only come when everything outside of you is perfect. Every emotion has a purpose. Anger sets boundaries. Sadness teaches surrender. Joy expands the heart. Anxiety, in its purest form, sharpens awareness. It's the alarm clock of the soul, ringing to remind you that something in your life has gone unnoticed for too long. Instead of silencing it, thank it. You don't have to enjoy the sensation, but you can respect its message. The very act of listening transforms it. Think of it this way. If you were walking through a forest and heard the rustling of leaves, you would stop and listen. You wouldn't scold the wind for moving. Anxiety is that rustling. It tells you that something in the unseen world is stirring. The more you resist it, the louder it grows. But when you stop and listen, when you breathe and allow it to exist, the message becomes clear. It's not here to harm you, it's here to guide you. You might find that your anxiety often points toward neglected passions. Maybe you've been ignoring your creativity or silencing your voice in fear of rejection. The unease grows not because you are broken, but because your potential is begging for release. You are like a river dammed by your own self-doubt. The pressure builds not to destroy you, but to push through what blocks you. The water must move, so must you. At other times, anxiety arises when your life becomes too small for your soul. When you live according to expectations rather than truth. Every step feels heavy, every breath constrained. Anxiety then becomes a kind of inner protest, a rebellion against inauthentic living. It is the universe within you saying, "You were meant for more than this." Listening doesn't mean indulging every fear or overanalyzing every thought. It means being still enough to sense what lies beneath the surface. Close your eyes. Feel where the tension lives in your body. Notice it without trying to fix it. Let it speak. Often, what you'll hear is not a scream, but a whisper. Please slow down. Please remember who you are. And once you begin to listen, the relationship changes. Anxiety loses its sharpness. It may still visit, but no longer as an intruder. It becomes a teacher. It comes to remind you to return to the present, to honor your needs, to stay aligned with your truth. The fear doesn't vanish. It transforms into awareness. True listening requires courage. Because when you listen to anxiety, you may have to make changes. End something, begin something, or face something. But that's precisely why it arises, to push you toward the life you were meant to live. The discomfort is not random, it's guidance in disguise. So the next time you feel that restless energy rising, don't ask, "How do I get rid of this?" Ask instead, "What is this trying to tell me?" Maybe it's telling you to rest. Maybe it's asking you to speak your truth. Maybe it's showing you where you're still holding on. Whatever it is, trust that it's not here to punish you. It's here to wake you up. The moment you shift from fighting your anxiety to listening to it, everything changes. The fear no longer controls you because you've stopped seeing it as a threat. You've recognized it for what it truly is, a message wrapped in emotion. A teacher wearing the mask of discomfort. Life is always trying to communicate with you, but it doesn't always speak in words. Sometimes it speaks through sensations, through unease, through the quiet ache that says, "Something within you is ready to be known." Listen closely. The answers are already there, waiting beneath the surface of what you call anxiety. The present moment is the only place life truly exists, yet we spend most of our time everywhere else. We wander through the echoes of the past and the fog of imagined futures, dragging our bodies through days our minds are not even inside of. This is why anxiety feels so heavy, because it is the weight of all the moments you are not living. It is the body saying, "Come back." It is the heartbeat trying to pull your attention from the shadows of what might be to the reality of what is. Anxiety thrives on projection. It feeds on what could go wrong, what might happen, what someone might think. It lives in the gaps between this breath and the next. And yet, in this very instant, right now, there is nothing happening that you cannot handle. The present moment is always manageable. It is only when the mind runs ahead, spinning endless possibilities, that we become lost. The moment you return to what is real the sound of your breathing, the feeling of your feet on the floor, the texture of the air around you, the storm begins to quiet. Not because life suddenly changes, but because you've stepped out of the illusion that it was ever spinning out of control. You see, anxiety is not truly about fear. It is about disconnection from the present, from the senses, from the rhythm of life as it unfolds. The mind wants certainty, but the present moment offers no promises, it offers only presence. And so, we drift into the future, hoping to predict and prepare for everything that could go wrong. But life cannot be rehearsed. It can only be lived. The more you try to script it, the further you move from its truth. The past and future are like mirages, convincing, shimmering illusions that disappear when you reach out to touch them. The only thing that ever actually exists is now. The present is simple, but simplicity terrifies the mind. The mind wants movement, problems to solve, dangers to avoid, futures to secure. Stillness feels threatening because, in stillness, the mind loses its throne. But the heart, the soul, the body, they live naturally in the present. Watch a child playing, a bird flying, or a river flowing. None of them worry about the next moment. They exist in an effortless harmony with what is. They are not preparing for life. They are being life. This is the way of presence. It does not resist. It does not anticipate. It simply flows. You cannot think your way into peace. You can only feel your way into it. Thought belongs to time, but awareness belongs to eternity. When you rest in awareness, you see that all anxious thoughts are just clouds passing through a vast sky. Some are dark, some are bright, but none define the sky itself. The sky does not chase the clouds or beg them to leave. It allows them to drift by untouched. That is the power of presence, to let what comes come and let what goes go. Every time you catch yourself lost in thought, replaying an old memory, imagining a disaster, simply notice it. Don't fight it. Don't judge it. Just say quietly, there's the mind again. Bring your attention back to your breath. Inhale slowly. Feel the air filling your lungs. Feel your chest rise and fall. That is life happening right there. And as you return to it, even for a few seconds, the anxious current loses its grip. The mind cannot dominate you when you are grounded in the immediacy of experience. Presence is not about escaping reality. It is about entering it more fully. It's not a technique. It's a remembering. It's remembering that your life isn't unfolding in your thoughts, but in your direct experience. It's not happening in your fears about tomorrow, but in the taste of your morning coffee, the warmth of sunlight on your skin, the sound of rain against the window. Every small moment is sacred if you're awake enough to notice it. And that noticing, that full attention, is what dissolves anxiety. Because anxiety cannot survive where awareness is. Most of what we fear never comes to pass. The mind paints terrifying pictures of what might be, and we suffer through them as though they were real. We live entire tragedies that never actually occur. What a strange thing to experience so much pain over imaginary futures. The moment you realize this, you can laugh softly at the absurdity of it all. The mind is a magnificent tool, but a poor master. It can imagine, plan, and create, but it cannot live. Only you, here and now, can do that. When you focus on the present, even the simplest act becomes profound. Washing your hands, walking outside, taking a breath. All of it becomes a doorway into stillness. You begin to see that peace is not something to achieve after all your problems are solved. Peace is already here, waiting beneath the noise. You just have to stop searching for it in the future. The next promotion, the next relationship, the next escape. None of these will deliver what you already possess. The future is always a mirage, because the moment you arrive, it becomes the present again. Being present does not mean life will be free from challenges. The world will still move unpredictably. People will still come and go. Circumstances will still change. But the difference is, you will no longer be swept away by them. You will respond rather than react. You will move with the rhythm instead of against it. This is the quiet power of those who are grounded in the now. They are not numb, they are awake. They can feel everything deeply, yet remain untouched by panic. The mind says, I will be happy when things are different. Presence whispers, there is no when, only now. And within that now, everything you were seeking is already here. Stillness is not found by escaping life, but by entering it completely. When you bring your full attention to this moment, life reveals a hidden grace, a silence beneath the noise. You start to notice the subtle hum of existence. The way everything breathes together. The way each moment births the next without effort. You realize that you were never apart from this rhythm. You were simply too distracted to feel it. The future is not your enemy, but it is not your home either. The past is not your enemy, but it is not your teacher anymore. The only place you can touch truth is in the present moment. Everything real happens here: love, laughter, creativity, insight, healing. The rest is memory and imagination, both useful but neither alive. The more you practice being here, the more natural it becomes. You'll begin to notice how your breath anchors you, how your body grounds you, how awareness expands when you stop chasing thoughts. Try this the next time you feel the surge of anxiety. Pause. Instead of asking, why do I feel this way? Ask, what's happening right now? Feel your body. Listen to the sounds around you. Notice the light in the room. You will see that the present moment is never as frightening as the mind makes it seem. Anxiety loses its power because it cannot survive direct observation. It depends on your absence, on your being lost in thought. But when you are fully here, it has nowhere to hide. You may think that living in the present means forgetting your goals or ignoring responsibilities. But presence doesn't mean inaction. It means acting from clarity, not fear. It means responding to what's in front of you instead of reacting to what your mind imagines. When your attention is rooted in the now, your actions become precise, wise, and effortless. You stop wasting energy on what if and start creating from what is. This is the quiet truth. There is nothing missing from this moment. The mind may tell you otherwise, but the heart knows. The heart knows that even in the midst of uncertainty, there is a stillness untouched by time. When you rest in that stillness, you realize that peace was never something to find. It was what remained when you stopped leaving. the moment you were in. So slow down. Feel the pulse of your own existence. Watch the breath rise and fall. Let the mind run if it must. It cannot drag you away if you do not follow. You are not your thoughts, not your fears, not your future. You are the awareness that watches it all come and go. And that awareness lives only in the present. This is where freedom begins. Not in the elimination of anxiety, but in the recognition that the present moment has never been anxious. The mind trembles, but the moment is still. Always still. Always here. And when you learn to dwell there, to breathe into the now without running, you discover the deepest truth of all. Peace was never something to chase. It was simply what remained when you stopped. Discomfort is not your enemy. It is the oldest teacher in existence. From the moment you took your first breath, every pulse of growth has come wrapped in unease. Your bones stretched, your skin tightened, your mind expanded, and every stage of that unfolding carried some form of tension. Yet here you are, believing that something has gone wrong because your spirit feels unsettled. But perhaps nothing is wrong. Perhaps the trembling you call anxiety, confusion, or pain is the sacred shaking that happens right before awakening. We live in a world that worships comfort. Everything is designed to shield us from even the slightest inconvenience. But comfort has a cost. It dulls awareness. It lulls you into the illusion that stillness equals safety. That peace means predictability. True peace, however, is not found in the absence of disturbance, but in the ability to rest within it. Growth and awakening never occur in a straight line of calmness. They emerge from the chaos of transformation, from the crumbling of old certainties. When you feel discomfort rising, the instinct is to retreat, to find something, anything, that numbs it. The mind rushes to explain it away, to find reasons, to build walls around it. But if you could just pause, if you could let the discomfort breathe, you would begin to notice something miraculous. Beneath the unease, there is movement. There is energy. There is life reorganizing itself into a new pattern. You are not falling apart. You are unfolding. The process of awakening feels like breaking because what you are awakening from is the illusion of control. Every identity you've built, every role, every belief, every expectation is being questioned by life itself. The mind panics because it cannot predict what comes next. It says, something is wrong, when in truth, something is being born. The pain you feel is not the pain of destruction, it's the ache of creation. Just as the earth trembles before a seed breaks open, your spirit shakes before it flowers. We are conditioned to interpret discomfort as a sign of danger. But discomfort is simply unfamiliar energy passing through. It's the stretching of awareness into spaces it has never known. Imagine a bird that has spent its entire life in a cage. When the door is finally opened, freedom itself feels terrifying. The open sky, once longed for, now seems too vast, too uncertain. In the same way, when life opens the door of your consciousness, you resist it at first. You cling to what you know, even if what you know is pain, because at least pain is familiar. But growth asks you to step into the unknown. Awakening demands that you let go of everything false, everything forced. And this letting go is rarely comfortable. It strips away illusions one by one until only truth remains. That stripping can feel like loss, like emptiness, like anxiety, but it is none of these. It is the sacred purification of the self. You are not losing your mind, you are shedding your masks. The discomfort that comes with awakening often feels chaotic because the old structures of thought begin to crumble. You start to see that the things you once chased for happiness, approval, status, validation, were never the source of your peace. That realization can be disorienting. You stand at the edge of your old life and realize it was built on sand. Yet, within that disorientation, something steady begins to rise. A quiet knowing that you don't have to keep running. Every great transformation begins with unease. The seed does not become a tree without cracking open. The caterpillar does not become a butterfly without dissolving first. There is always a moment of surrender, an in-between state where what you were no longer exists and what you will become has not yet arrived. That is the space you call anxiety, but it's really the threshold of awakening. The mind wants to escape it, but the soul knows to stay. The path to awakening asks for trust. Trust in the process. Trust in the intelligence that moves through all things. You do not need to understand every feeling for it to serve you. You do not need to label every sensation as good or bad. You only need to allow it. Every moment of discomfort is guiding you back to what is real, peeling away what is false. When you stop resisting, you discover that the pain was never punishment. It was a doorway. Awakening through discomfort is not a grand event. It is a quiet shift. It happens when you stop fighting your feelings and begin to observe them. You start to notice that even in the middle of fear, there is awareness watching it. Even in the midst of chaos, there is a stillness beneath it. That stillness is your true nature. It does not tremble. It does not cling. It simply is. The discomfort only disturbs you when you identify with it, when you believe it defines you. But the moment you step back and witness it, you realize it's just another wave in the ocean of consciousness. The beauty of discomfort is that it humbles you. It reminds you that you are not in control, that life is infinitely larger than your plans. It breaks the illusion of separation, the belief that you are a small, isolated self navigating a hostile world. In the moments of deepest unease, when you finally surrender, you touch something vast and timeless. You realize that the same force that moves the stars also moves within you. You begin to see that what you called pain was simply life trying to awaken you to itself. So, when discomfort comes, welcome it gently. Sit with it as you would with an old friend. Ask it what it's trying to show you. Often, it's pointing to the places where you've been asleep, where you've been pretending, denying, or holding on too tightly. The more you listen, the more it reveals. You begin to see patterns, old wounds, forgotten truths. Each realization softens you, deepens you, makes you more whole. Awakening is not about escaping discomfort. It's about being transformed by it. It's about realizing that the same energy that creates fear also creates freedom, that the same intensity that shakes you also awakens you. The only difference is how you meet it. If you resist it, it becomes suffering. If you open to it, it becomes liberation. Imagine a storm. To someone caught in fear, it feels violent and destructive. But to the sky, it is simply movement. One phase of an endless cycle. The wind howls, the rain falls, the clouds scatter, and soon, the air is clear again. Your emotions are storms within the vast sky of your being. You are not the wind, nor the thunder. You are the space that holds it all. When you know this, even the storm becomes sacred. Discomfort loses its terror when you stop judging it. When you see it not as a curse but as a catalyst. Every shiver, every tremor of uncertainty is life expanding your capacity to feel. The more you can hold, the more awake you become. The soul doesn't grow through perfection. It grows through experience, through breaking, through being remade again and again. So let it move through you. Let the discomfort speak. Let it burn away what is false. You do not have to understand it all. You only have to trust that it's part of your becoming. The awakening of the true self is not a gentle process. It is fierce, raw, and alive. But within that fire there is grace. Within that chaos there is clarity. You will emerge from it not as someone new, but as who you have always been, unmasked, unbound, unafraid. The discomfort was never against you. It was always for you. It came to remind you that you are not fragile, that you are vast enough to contain every feeling, every storm, every change. It came to return you to the truth that peace is not the absence of pain. It is the space that holds it. And so, when the waves rise again, when the familiar ache returns, do not run. Sit quietly and feel it. Listen to it. Thank it. For it means you are alive, growing, awakening. It means you are being called home to yourself.